The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the producers and the individuals appearing on this program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the staff of the Sun Prairie Media Center, its members or underwriters, the board members of the Media Center Commission, Charter Communications, TDS Telecom, or the staff and elected officials of the City of Sun Prairie.
Hello, and welcome to Real Reviews. My name is Jameson Rabbit, and the man seated over here totally knows how to draw a duck. His name is Mike Roth.
Got to start with the eyes.
Yeah?
Yep, that is what everybody does. If you're really good at something, you start at the eyes, and then the rest falls out. Also, I have another idea. I feel like in every piece of paper, there is a duck. I just have to draw them out.
It's like they say with a piece of wood, like the carving is inside it. I just had to let it come out.
I said that.
Every
they don't
duck
say
is.
that. I said that.
I like that. Every piece of paper has a duck within it.
Yes, it does. You just have to draw them out.
It's brilliant, man. That's really brilliant stuff.
Well, I like to inform everyone.
You're welcome, folks. That is brilliant. So, this week, we have a good handful of films to talk about, whether you like it or not. And I'm going to get it started off with one that I like. It is our streaming spotlight this week. From Netflix, we have The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. This is Academy Award nominee Chiwetel Ejiofor, his directorial debut. He also stars in this movie as a man named Chiwetel Ejiofor. This is based on a true story about a young boy, William Kimkwamba, played by Maxwell Simba. He's a boy in Malawi who helps his village by building a wind turbine after reading about it in a library book. It's a true story about him. He really saved his village from drought and famine. And this movie really, first off, I mean, it takes its time to really get into the story. It kind of draws you into the region and the culture and kind of makes sure you've kind of been welcomed into the homes of the villagers, and you really get to know what it's like, and you start to really feel how dry and desperate it is in this little village as the drought has set in. And you can feel the slow grip of famine on these people. Young William was banished from the school that he was attending because his family couldn't afford to pay for it. And so he's a brilliant young man, but he doesn't have a way to learn. He strikes a deal with one of the teachers, partially through some blackmail, to be able to use the school's library to teach himself. And this is where he discovers the electrical power of wind. And through this, you also have his father, who is desperate, but his family is really struggling. The whole village is struggling. There's no food. There's this upheaval with the famine and the government kind of stockpiling food but not giving it to the people. And there's kind of some outbreak of some fighting amongst people and thievery and all this stuff that you would find natural in these circumstances. Some really trying times. And young William really kind of he has to get his father to kind of turn around to his side to realize that there's another way other than just breaking your back and praying that there'll be rain. There's a way to access some water if you just let me build this turbine. And it's really great. It's similar in tone to me to The Queen of Cotsway, which we saw a couple years ago.
That was a great movie.
Yeah, really felt kind of similar to that, and really, you started to feel like you knew these people in this region a little. The movie didn't just jump in and throw you in there. It built it. And I really enjoyed it. For a directorial debut from Ejiofor, I thought it was really well done. It's streaming on your Netflix right now.
It looks like a fantastic movie. It looks absolutely beautiful and endearing. And,
it is. It's gorgeous.
Educational at the same time.
Yeah. It's really beautiful. It's shot really well. It looks like you're there in this village. You start to feel the dirt in your hair after a while, the sand in your hair. But I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars.
Nice.
It's well worth watching. It's worth your time. Sit down. It's on your Netflix.
It'd be nice if movies like this got to the theater.
Yeah, but Netflix has been scooping these movies up left and right lately.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I like how the theaters pick up things like what I got.
what do you have on the marquee, sir?
I have a Madea Family Funeral.
Oh,
if
yes.
you are not familiar with the Madea series, you live under a rock. This is Tyler Perry's flagship. He comes out with a couple movies every year. Seems like one of them is always a Madea movie.
This is the 11th version?
Yes, but thank goodness this is his last one. So if you're a fan, I'm sorry, you're not going to get any more. This is it. You're just going to have to rewatch the other 10 and this one. Everybody else rejoice. It opens up another slot for maybe a good film. But anyways, I'm not going to tell you what the score is quite yet. I'm going to tell you what this movie is about. Tyler Perry writes and directs this movie. We get back him dressing up like a elderly woman, and she is Madea. Her and her friends are all together, including the family, under this idea that there's going to be an anniversary. But there isn't an anniversary because the husband who is going to have this anniversary, he is cheating on his wife and ends up having a heart attack during a tryst at a hotel, which at the same time, one of the family members is also having a tryst, the brother of the family, with the other brother's wife.
Oh,
and
boy.
there is a lot of anger going on.
Sounds like there might be 2 funerals in this movie.
There's a lot of secrets, and there's a lot of very bad soap opera-like drama, not like nighttime soap opera where the acting was kind of good, but like the daytime stuff where everybody is supermodel and everything is dramatic. You can't even say hello without it being a big deal. It was just
Spanish soap opera.
This is half of the film. This terrible soap opera-like story involving one actor who is always angry at his wife because he's cheating on his wife with his brother's wife, and a brother who is very caring and loving, and it was so dragging. It was soul-sucking. There was at the point where you see the brother arguing, he's always blames all his emotional problems on the fact that his dad dies. So you see this dialogue going on and on and on forever, going nowhere, and then the scene just ends when he goes, "My dad just died," and it's just, But the other half is Tyler Perry cross-dressing and making fun of elderly people, a class which he isn't yet. And it's homophobic and sexist, and the jokes are bad. They're really, really bad. And, I mean, these jokes maybe got a chuckle in the 80s. They don't get a chuckle anymore.
No chuckle from Mike?
There are no chuckles. I sat stone-faced through this movie as long as I could. I stayed not till the end, but long enough just so I could figure out what the plot was. I'm almost done with the movie, and I'm like, oh, this is the plot. I'm watching it. Now I can leave. Thank you.
Would you prefer this or Big Mama's House with Martin Lawrence?
Big Mama's House. I would take Crumps. Madea, I've only had to see one other one, and this was Medea's Happy Halloween.
Oh, hello, yes.
Yeah, and that was awful. Yeah. And there was only 2 new movies, so I got to see at least 2 movies. So this is the one which I usually would try to avoid, and this has happened a couple of times where we just had one release and it was terrible. But it's one release. You got to see it. I had to see Madea.
What'd you give this masterpiece?
I give it a 1, and the only reason why I gave it a 1 was, there was curiosity on what the plot was for a long time. I sat there for well over an hour just going, what are they doing with this movie?
I love you sitting there like, what is this movie?
I'm trying to get some kind of depth, and there is no depth. It's just crud over and over and over again. But praise the heavens.
It's over.
It's over. This is the last one. Tyler Perry's not retiring, but Madea is. And there you go.
I trust he's a man of his word.
I hope so. I hope so. He doesn't do the retirement thing Ozzy Osbourne and Kiss
unretire?
does. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to retire maybe 5 times.
Right. The next movie I have, sir, on the marquee is a film that is the biggest movie in the world right now. The #1 movie in the world for 2019.
Really?
Yes. It is currently box office in 3 weeks, $700 million it's earned in 3 weeks.
Wow.
In America, it's earned $5 million. It is a Chinese film called The Wandering Earth from director Frank Guo. This is
I was excited. Okay, you go.
it is a worldwide blockbuster of enormous proportions. I mean, it is huge right now. It is a space disaster film with a fun, surprisingly effective plot. It takes place in a world where the sun is expanding and about to explode. We are running out of time in this solar system, and so scientists decide it's time to move the Earth on to a new solar system. And how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to build a ton of these Earth engines. These Earth engines are super cool. So there's a ring of these engines around the equator that stops the Earth from rotating, and then a bunch of them on the backside that are going to push the Earth, and it's going to take 2,500 years, but we're going to push over into Alpha Centauri, and that's going to be our new sun. Because we stopped the rotation, half of the Earth's population is going to die, because there's going to be massive tsunamis, and the temperature is going to drop to 70 below Celsius.
Oh, yeah.
And so people are living deep underground. Underneath these engines is where people are living their lives now. 17 years later, it's all happening. We also have a father who leaves his children behind because he's going to help lead this mission. He leaves his children. He goes off, lives in the space station that is kind of the mothership controlling everything. And 17 years later, his kids are grown up, and they are caught up in this whole thing as the situation with these rescue teams as Jupiter is sucking the Earth into its atmosphere and is threatening to swallow Earth completely. This movie is very much a Chinese Armageddon with a little bit of 2001 in it. You have the
looks
mothership.
way better than Armageddon.
Yeah, the mothership, has a computer that is much like HAL, that is kind of has its own operative to take over things. And you have really cool designs in this, and it looks like it's on a different planet, but it's just Earth. They're on Earth's surface. It's 70 below 0 Celsius, and things are going bad. It's great. I mean, there's so many heroes in this movie. No Americans. It's a completely
That would make
Chinese
sense.
cast.
Yeah.
It looks cool. The movie moves along really nicely. I watched a documentary about how they made their special effects. This is the first big budget sci-fi movie to ever come out of China.
Really?
Yes, this is the first one that they've put
I guess most of them are
tens of
Japanese
millions of
or
dollars
Korean or-
into it. Yeah. And so Beijing Film has really gone all in on this, and it's paid off. I mean, it is massive.
This looks like a fantastic movie. I wanted to see this. I didn't get around to it. I'm really glad you reviewed this movie.
And this is getting Netflix has picked this movie up as well. So it is kind of difficult to find, but it will be on Netflix at some point in the near future.
Okay.
It's great though. I enjoyed it. The sets look lived in. The space shots look like some of these are just gorgeous portraits. They do a different way of using their effects. It's a lot of layering as opposed to how we use green screens almost predominantly. They use a lot of layering shots over each other, which is kind of interesting. Doesn't always work. You can tell that this is very new for their film industry. And so some of them, they use a lot of tracking shots, like pulling out, panning away. We show somebody standing out there, and then we pan out and keep panning until you're all the way out to the cosmos, showing how small they are. A lot of that over and over again, like they fell in love with doing that. But it's interesting to me, and it's the success of this movie. I mean, every day I look, it's made another $20 million.
Yeah.
It opens up their market to kind of a exchange of movies. I mean, it's really interesting to me. It provides something that Chinese film has never really had. It's just this massive blockbuster.
Yeah. China's usually really good at imitating something and not making something.
Right.
This is showing how their culture is expanding.
And it's not
immensely.
just like, we send Alita over there or we send Warcraft over there and like, yeah, we love this, but now they're providing something. And I enjoyed it. I mean, I think it's really interesting, and it has its hiccups in the movie, but it's an interesting story, and it compares to Armageddon, but in a lot of the dynamics. I mean, there's pulling at heartstrings. You have a father and son dynamic in here. a lot of.
This is science as wonky.
Now they're providing something. I mean,
I
yeah, enjoyed it.
It doesn't sound
really
plausible,
yeah.
but I mean, it
You
seems
know,
so far
it
out
has
there that it could work.
It has
beyond,
its
like,
yeah. I mean, you have to
catching an
suspend your
asteroid.
disbelief
And it does,
about
it compares
us
to
just pushing
Armageddon,
this
but
planet
in a
across
lot of
the
the
cosmos
dynamics
with
yeah,
some engines.
There's-
So, like I said, Netflix has picked this up
Yeah.
to kind of give it a broader reach. Over here, America's really the only place this movie isn't a massive success right now.
Well, I don't figure out why, because we have grasped on to other cultures when it comes down to our entertainment for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Like Pokemon and a lot of our Hanna-Barbera, this stuff is not really American stuff. It's
I mean, look at Alita.
exactly. Why?
We take it from them, we make it, we send it back.
So, I mean, we could take their stuff and then turn it into something that's not as great as what they gave us in the first place, or they could just make it original. And
I'm excited. I'm excited for the doors that this opens, and the Beijing film industry will only get better and better and better at this.
Yeah.
And with the successes of this, I mean, it's 3 weeks, $700 million. That's crazy.
that's really good.
That's really good. And so with that success, I mean, hopefully it just breeds more, and we just have more opportunities at good films. I mean, I would love if every area could make great films, and we can just have opportunities to watch more diverse films.
I look forward to the competition, because the more competition that's worthy,
Right.
the better we're forced
Absolutely.
to do. And I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely. So ultimately, I ended up giving The Wandering Earth 4 stars.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good. It's fun. And part of it is that I'm really drawn in by this story of how they're doing this, what they're doing, and I'm rooting for it.
All right.
Me and a billion other people that have already seen this.
I'm rooting for it too. I'm looking forward to seeing it on Netflix.
Yeah.
Now, back to the American films.
Back to the great ones. What else do we have to talk about, sir?
Okay, so this is the other movie that was on the marquee this week is Greta. We have Neil Jordan. He directed this film with Isabelle Huppert playing Greta and Chloe Grace Moretz playing the interests of Greta. We'll get right into the story. So Frances McCullen, she is a young adult on her own for the first time in New York City. Her roommate has a place, she's staying there, and she's trying to figure out what it's like to be a young adult all alone. Well, one of the things she's not used to is when you're in New York, you can't be Midwest nice. You have to be mean. She can't do that. She sees a purse on the subway. She looks in it, finds the owner, goes to the owner's house, gives her the purse. They form a friendship because who does that? What a nice lady.
Right.
Who does that is nice people who pick up psychopath stuff. What's been happening is Greta leaves purses on the subway for nice Midwestern
Leaving some
people
bait.
to go. And once they get to her house, she hooks pretty much her drug-tipped needle into their necks and makes them pretty much there's a roommate.
She starts stalking them to
Yeah.
crazy ends.
Now, I like the actresses in this movie. The problem I have with this movie is a supernatural that Greta is.
Yeah.
She is an older woman, yet she's able to be behind someone and be in front of
She's
them
very
at
spry.
all times. She has immunity to drugs. She has extra super strength. She is super creepy and at the same time supernatural, but she's not supposed to be supernatural. This movie took a while for it to warm up.
It did.
And when it did warm up, it became cliche and non-believable. I could not believe what was going on. But I do like the actresses.
And that's the thing is, I like Neil Jordan as a filmmaker. I think he's had great movies in the past. He's had a rough run lately, but I think he's a really great filmmaker. And I think he got a great, really eerie performance out of Isabelle Huppert, who, I mean, she was just nominated for Best Actress a couple years ago for Elle. And I think she was really good in this as Greta. She brings a really eerie performance because she is very likable.
Yeah.
And then when you see the turn come, you're like, oh, I don't like this. I like Chloe Grace Moretz.
Yeah.
I like her as an actress. She's really trying.
She's not in a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, I thought she was really good last year. There was a film she was in called The Miseducation of Cameron Post that was really interesting. She's young. She's like 20 years old.
Sure.
She's trying different roles. they don't always work for her. But I think she's picking up skills and working with Isabelle Huppert. You kind of glean some skills off your elders. I think she was trying. There were some good performances. She was kind of earnest in some parts where it was a little much for me. But she's got something. My issue with this is I knew exactly where this movie was going within 10 minutes. Like, I knew what the big twist was going to be right away when they first met. When Chloe first showed up at Greta's house, I was like, oh, I know where this is going to wrap up. And it did. And so I was like, that always kind of bothers me. But I still thought that the final third act of this movie brought some suspense to me. Like, there were some moments in there, even though I knew exactly where it was going, I think it was because of the strength of Isabelle Huppert, I was still kind of like, she creeps me out. There's some things in this movie that are not necessarily fears, but some anxiety-inducing things for me. And so that worked for me because it induced some anxiety within me.
I didn't feel like I saw anything new. And even though I could predict every step, I wanted to fast forward because I was hoping I was wrong. I really was hoping I was wrong, and I wasn't. And that frustrated me to no end. And the fact that they played some games with the ability of Greta's stalking, which was impossible. There's a scene where she's behind Francis's roommate, and she's like, "Turn around! She's there! She's there!" Never could see her. So Greta is, probably in her 60s and
she's
a
got
ninja.
Cloaking devices.
And she's able to also jump into the bus, get in the back seat, and take more pictures of her. Yeah. This lady's running. Greta is not running, and she's in two spots. At one time, I was thinking maybe the movie is Greta has a twin. That's the only way it could be. But no, they chose a lazy way of just going, no, we're going to do it because it built suspense, and it seemed creepy.
See, I like these types of suspenseful thrillers. The 90s was full of them. Yeah. And and Neil Jordan, The Crying Game was his first big breakout. Very similar, a suspenseful thriller. And I kind of have a place in my heart for these movies, good and bad. And they all kind of follow very similar paths to get where they're going. And they'll ultimately have different third acts, but a lot of them have very similar paths. And I think we need more of these. Like, there's not a lot of these types of movies these days. I have a place for them. One of the other things that he chose to do, which I kind of dug watching it, was there's a choice to have these repetitive music choices playing throughout the movie. Greta keeps playing the same song, same song, same song. And within the confines of her apartment, to me, it kind of created this dizzying sense within her apartment of the same music just keeps playing over and over. I'm like, I don't like this. I don't want that song anymore.
Yeah, now that I think back on it, I did like a lot of the shots. The way the look was very nice. I liked the acting. I did like the music. I thought the music in it was unique. But the rest of it.
Yeah. What did you ultimately give Greta?
I give it a 1.5. And I might be brutal, but I did not like how this was written at all.
I give it a 2.5. I think it was standard fare for this genre. Okay. Nothing stood out outside of a couple of the performances. I don't think anything was awful. It feels very much like a lot of these movies that I've seen before. Sliver and all of these films that are very much similar to that.
Fair.
I'm down with it. Let's take a look back, though, sir, at a throwback that really, it's just a throwback because we wanted to do this.
Okay.
Why not?
All right,
it doesn't always have to have great intellectual tie-ins. 2009, 10 years ago, a film came out called Fanboys. Fanboys stars a fun cast directed by Kyle Newman, stars Dan Fogler as a man named Hutch, Jay Baruchel as Windows, Kristen Bell as Zoe, Sam Huntington, and Chris Marquardt as Eric and Linus. These are all best friends who are obsessed with Star Wars. And episode 1, The Phantom Menace, is about to come out later this year. We can't wait. We have to steal it. We need to see it before anyone else. We can't wait. You also have the fact that Linus is dying. We find out that Linus is dying, and we've got to do this. It's a mission from God. We've got to get to Lucas Skywalker Ranch, break in, steal Phantom Menace, and watch it. And along the way, it is a massive road trip of nerddom You also have Seth Rogen
I
in
love
here.
it so much.
Seth Rogen as the head Trekkie.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you have so many cameos in this movie. Billy D. Williams, William Shatner, Carrie Fisher. So much nerdness in this movie.
You want to hear a fun fact that's really weird?
Tell me about it.
I really didn't hear much of this movie until this year.
Really?
Earlier this year was the first time I've seen this movie, and I am curious on why I have not heard about this movie.
I am curious as well.
Did this do really well at the
No,
theaters?
it didn't do great. It did not do great at the box office.
Okay.
I remember seeing this when it first came out, and it was actually the film that started me podcasting.
Ah.
This movie, I lent it to a guy who I just kind of met. He was like, "Here, watch this," and he was like, "This is amazing. Is this what the kind of stuff you like?" I'm like, "Yes." He's like, "We should talk about movies," and that is how I started podcasting about movies years ago. Is when this movie came out in 2009.
Now we're brought
And
to this
here we
point.
are.
Look at that. And in case you guys don't know, this guy does a lot of things besides our show.
Like talking about, they're all movie related.
Yeah.
Talking about movies.
You should check out his profile. He does everything. I don't think he sleeps.
Nope, no sleep. No sleep for the wicked. I really dig this movie though. It's fun. It's Seth Rogen has me cracking up. Dan Fogler as Hutch in here always gets me because he's just insane.
It's funny. It's adventurous. It's gets at your heart.
It
little
does.
bit. Yeah.
It does.
And then you wonder, you look back on your own friendships, and you're like, oh, would I have done this? And you go, no, I wouldn't.
I mean, they get into
But I wish I
Lucas,
would.
they get into Skywalker Ranch.
Yeah, they
This
do.
has got the blessing of George Lucas at the time to make this movie.
Yep.
And you just look around and be like, oh, I want that. Oh, I want that. Oh, that's incredible.
This did, not the story, but something like this did happen, where someone who was a big Star Wars fan,
broke in.
and he was able to see the movie first.
I love this movie though. Well, wait a minute. What if Phantom Menace sucks? I love it when they come to this realization.
Yeah.
Like, but what if it sucks?
Well,
Yikes.
there's a reason why I rejoiced when George Lucas sold.
Yeah. Well, the nation did. But Fanboys is a fun movie. It's worth checking out. I have a good time. I kind of pick this up every couple of years off the shelf, throw it in,
Yeah, I
have
noticed
some fun.
that. And if you follow Facebook and you follow this guy, you would have found out he watched it just recently.
Yeah, great choice. So anyways, that is our movie throwback. Let's take a look ahead at what is coming out the weekend of March 15th, sir. We have 3 films coming out. The first one is 5 Feet Apart, starring Haley Lou Richardson and Cole Sprouse as 2 young teens who have health issues. They cannot be closer than 5 feet from each other, but love might push them another foot closer.
Looking forward to seeing the trailer stop.
Yeah, that's a great point. We also have Wonder Park. It is the animated film about an amusement park and adventures that go on in this amusement park. It's a thing. And last but not least, this is a movie that has been sitting on my most anticipated list for the past 2 years.
Ooh.
It is finally out. Captive State, Rupert Wyatt's film starring Vera Farmiga and John Goodman about what happens before and after an alien invasion. I'm so excited to finally see this. I've been talking about it for 15 months.
I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
We have a
yet.
mutual friend who has a walk-on role in this.
Really?
Yeah, we'll talk about it after the show.
All right.
We'll have to look for him in the background. But Captive State is coming out March 15th. Excited for that. Before we leave you, though, we have to thank our sponsor, of course, Marcus Theaters, the Palace here in Sun Prairie. Thank you for sponsoring our show. We are excited for a busy week watching Captain Marvel within the confines of your wonderful theaters.
Buy your tickets early.
Oh, early and often. I'm looking forward to going a couple of times. See it in 3D and in 2D.
I think
Why
I might
not?
try doing the same
I
thing.
hear the 3D is decent on this one, so I'm going to go check
Too
it
bad
out.
it will never go out on disc.
No, there's none of that. But thank you again for sponsoring our program. Next week, as we say, we're going to be talking about Captain Marvel and the Kid. But until that time, I'm Jameson.
I'm Mike Roth.
Thanks for watching.